Good evening everyone, my name is Gaurav Kumar Jain and I welcome you on this amazing and beautiful channel named Geeks for Geeks School, where we provide you with free of cost coding classes. So in today's lecture we are going to develop again a very beautiful game using simple Python coding. The name of the game is Tiles and it's a number swapping game basically. Right, in which we guys will be using some swapping techniques to create the game, and the modules that we are going to use for creating the games are the same that we have used in the previous lectures. So we'll be using random module, and we will use the turtle module, and last but not the least we'll be using the free games module. Right, so let's not waste the time and straight away dive into the platform and enjoy the coding. So the first thing I would like to do is, let's first import everything whatever is required for creating this game. So from this random module I would like to import everything. So how to import everything from a particular module? We can simply make use of this import keyword, and then we can put this asterisk like this. So the asterisk will tell the interpreter to pick up everything from this random named package. Right, then from this turtle again I would like to import everything, so we can simply put asterisk. Right, then it's time for us to get hold of free games. So free games we can write like this, and simply we can import the float function and the vector function, which with the help of which we can create the grids, the layout. Now it's time for us to define, or you can say declare, a set. So it is going to be an empty set which I am initializing this tiles named variable with. And let's now define this variable neighbors, which is going to hold for us all the vectors. So I'm going to make use of a list, right, and in this list I'm going to store all the vector information. So 100, 0 is going to be the first point, and then we can have this vector, we can have another vector with different coordinates, so -100, 0, and then we can have two more vectors. So that's the third one which I'm defining now. 0, 100 is the value I would like to assign it, and then we can have another vector with value -100. Right, so I'm done with defining this variable neighbors. Okay, now it's time for us to define the required functions which are going to help us in creating the game. So the first function that I would like to define is the load function, right, which with the help of which we can we'll be able to load the tiles and the scramble. So load we can write simply over here, and then we can put a colon like this. Okay, and let's have a counter variable, so we can simply put the name of the variable and we can assign it a value like this. Right, we can then have a for loop. So for y in range, here we have to define this range -200 because I've already created this game earlier, so I know the exact value that I have to have to be used over here. If you if you want to do some experiment on these values, definitely you can do, and you will be able to learn many things if you will experiment on these values and these codes which we are currently using. Okay, so for y in range -200, 200 and 100, we can have a nested for loop. So again I'm going to use another variable for x, and here again I'm going to use the same function, range function we'll use. So -200, then 200, then 100. These three values I'm going to use here also in this for loop. Let's have a variable named mark, and inside this I would like to store this vector. Let's put let's put these variables x and y which we have used over here in these loops inside this vector function. So we can do it like this. So we have passed these two things, these two variables as a parameter to this function. Right, now it's time for us to define the variable named tiles, right, which we defined right on the top over here. And let's make use of this mark, right? So it's a set, right? It is an empty set and we can put anything inside it. So I've put this mark inside this empty set, and let's assign it a value. So I would like to assign it, I would like to initialize it with the value of count. That's how we can do it, right? And simply we can then write this thing, count is equal to count plus 1. So every time this condition will become true, the value of count will increase by 1, and the first row will get formed. Similarly, when the condition will become false, the interpreter will return to this for loop, and it will again execute everything which is there inside this for loop again, and it will create for us the second row. So same thing will go on repeating, and we will get a table kind of thing in which now our work is to get some numbers reflected. Right, so that's the main function with the help of which we can draw the we can load the tiles and the scramble. Okay, now let's again use this tiles and mark, and I would like to now make it equal to none, right, so that the loop so that the interpreter can come out of the loop. Now it's time for us to use this for loop on count. So for count in range, I would like to use 1000. It's totally your call what number you want to put over here, right? So I'm using 1000. Neighbor is again a new variable I am using over here for storing the choice. Neighbors, fine. So neighbor is different and neighbors is a different variable. Remember this thing, they are two different variables, so please don't get confused in this. Then we have this variable spot. Spot is equals to mark. We can add it with the neighbor value. So that's how we can do it. Okay, it's looking fine. Let's come on this next line, and now inside this for loop I would also like to define an if control statement, because I want to check something. And what I want to check, let me just tell that to you. So if spot is in tiles, right, if this condition becomes true, then I would like the number to become equal to this tiles spot. Right, I simply want that first, and then I would like this tiles spot to become equal to none. So that's how we can do it. So right now what we are doing, we are swapping the values. Okay, so I have first I've used this number, this is a temporary number. Okay, so there are two ways we can swap the values. If you have two variables with two different values and you want to swap the values, so there is a method named use of temporary variable, right? So you can use a temporary variable for swapping a value. So, and the other ways you can, without using a temporary value also, you can swap the values of the two numbers you have. But right now I'm using the easiest one, which is using a temporary variable, how to swap a value. So that's the method which I'm using right now. So I've assigned this variable number, I've initialized it with the value which this tiles.spot has, right? And then to this tiles spot I have assigned none, and now it's time for me to assign to this tiles mark the value which we have in this number, that's the temporary variable. Okay, so that's how you can swap the values, and finally we need to make the marks equal to this spot. So we are done with this function load. Now it's time for us to define another function. Let's use this name square. Now this method we'll use for drawing white squares with black outlines. We'll be having a window in which I would like to see white squares, and I would also like to see lines in between. So in order to get a table kind of view, that's the function which will help us. So it's a parameterized function. To this we have to pass these two things as parameters. So that's how you can pass something as a parameter to the function, right? Then we can make use of this simple function that we generally use, up. Just after up, what function we use? We use go to. That is absolutely right. You must have seen my previous lectures. That's why you know the answer. If you don't know, it means that you haven't visited my previous tutorials. So if you haven't done that yet, please do check out the previous lectures so that you can come to know about why I'm using these codes. Fine. So mark dot y, then we can use, and then we can bring the that pointer down. So with the help of this down function, we can easily do it. It's time for us to put some color on the window. So we can use white background and black for the borders. So that's how you can pass the value black and white for the background. Okay, and I can use this begin fill. There is a function named begin fill. We have I've already told you about this function in the previous lectures also, but no problem. Let me tell you about this function again. So that's the function with the help of which you can fill your background with some colors, right? So whatever window is going to appear when you will run this code, if you want to fill it with some color, so that's the function you can make use of. And right after this, we can have this for loop again. So for count in, and this time because it's a square window that I will be getting, so that's the reason for I'm putting over here. And simply we can ask the pointer to move forward by, let's say, 100 steps. Fine, it is totally your call what value you want to put here. If you want me to put something near to 100, let's make it 99, no problem. And I would like to then ask the pointer to move 90 degree towards left, and then we can end the fill function. Okay, now it's time for us to check this condition. So we can make use of the if control statement. If number is none or not. So if this condition is true, what should happen? This function should return true. Elif, right? That's the keyword which we can use with if control statement, right? So there are two keywords we can use with if. One is this elif. If you have two or more conditions to check, you can use elif for checking the second one and the other conditions you have. And if you have only one condition, so you can go for else, right? So elif number is smaller than 10. If this condition is true, then what should happen? I would like the pointer to move forward by 20 steps. Okay, it's time for us to write the number, and that's how we can do it, right? And you want to define some font size or something like that, so you can make use of this font keyword, and let's put these brackets. Okay, and it's time for us to pass the value. So I would like to see everything getting reflected in Arial font. And what's the font size? So I would like to see it in 60 and normal, not italics, not regular, not bold. I would like to see a normal font. Okay, so it's good to go. Fine, now it's time for us to define the function with the help of which we can find out the coordinates the user is going to tap at. So define tap function. So that's the one which we generally use. We have used it in the previous lectures also, and today also we are going to use this function, and it's a very good function. You can use it for it's a very good function that you can use for finding out the coordinates, finding out the coordinates of the point the user has tapped on, right? So let's now use the floor function which we imported right on the top over here, if you remember. So we are going to make use of finding out the approximate value. So x comma 100 we can pass as a parameter to this function. Same thing we are going to do with this y also. So I'm replacing it with y, and here also I would like to replace it with y. Okay, so it is going to give us the floor value, and it's time for us to use this mark named variable to which I would like to assign this vector x comma y. You remember I use this vector xy over here. Fine, so just try to relate the codes, the one which I'm defining now with the one which I have already defined, right? Try to relate these codes. Definitely you will be able to understand everything if you will be able to relate these codes. And if you're not able to do that, please check out the previous tutorial so that you can get a good understanding of everything, because I don't want you to get confused anywhere. And if there is something confusing, so you can put those things in the comment section so that I can resolve your queries. Right, let's now use this for loop. So for neighbor, I think I have made a spelling mistake over here. Yeah, now it is fine. So for neighbor, in neighbors, right, so I would like to now check the neighboring values. That's how we can do it. It's the best way. Is the spelling correct? N-E-I-G-H-B-O-U-B-O-R-S. It is not B-O-U-R-S. Yeah, now it is perfectly fine. So earlier it was showing me error when there was U right in between. So now we can make use of, we can assign this spot a new value, and let's assign it this value mark plus neighbor, the one that we used earlier. I can show it to you, just a second. So I'm using the same code again and again. See, I've used it here, and now I have used it here also. Okay, it's time for us to define the if loop, if control statement, sorry. So if spot in tiles, right, and so I need to check two conditions, whether if spot is in tiles and this tiles spot, right, is none. So if these two conditions are true, then what should happen? So that's what we need to define now. So I would like my number to become equal to, what we can do, we can copy the entire code from here. This is the code which I would like to copy and put over here. Right, so number should become equal to tiles, not spot. I want to make it equal to mark, because earlier, you know, we were checking for spot, I think. Yeah, we were checking for only for spot in tiles, and now we're checking for spot in tiles as well as tile spot is none. So we are checking for both these conditions. So that's the reason we need to assign this number with this value of tiles mark, and then we can initialize this tile spot with the value which this number named variable possess, and then we need to call the square function now, right, which is going to help us in drawing the squares on the white background. So square and spot comma number we can put, right. Okay, then its tiles mark is equals to, it should be equal to none, right. And finally we need to call this square function, and to this we need to pass these two things as parameters. So square and none, that's it. Fine, so we are done with defining this tab function. It's time for us to define the final function, which is this draw function, which is going to help us in drawing the grid on the window that will appear, that is going to appear when we will run the code. So for drawing all the tiles, this function is going to help us. So for mark in tiles, right, so let's call this a square function, and inside this we can put this mark. Here we are going to make use of this tiles. We can simply put mark inside it, and it's time for us to update everything now. So how can we do that? It's very simple. We can call the update function, right. Okay, so we are good to go. it's now time for us to define the final codes. So the first one we need to define is for the setup, and setup is the function that we can use. So I'm going to define the same coordinates which I have used in the previous lecture. So 420, 420, 370, comma 0, right? And then we need to hide the turtle, remember? And let's load the game. So that's the function we can use for loading the game. It's time for us to call the draw function for drawing the game for us, and then we can use this on screen click, and inside this we can put this tap function. And I'm done with this, so we can use this done function finally. Right, now it's time for us to run this whole code and check whether this is going to give us the correct output or not. So we can simply hit the play button. Let's see what it is going to give us. Okay, there is a syntax error. Why it's showing a syntax error? Maybe I haven't put the colon over here. Let me run this game now. Again, it's showing me a syntax error. I need to check why. I think some value is missing over here. That's the reason this error is coming. Just a second, let me check that quickly. Where is that line of code which is not completely defined? Okay, that's the one. Let me just check the whole code. So if number is none, return, that is perfectly fine. If neighbor is neighbors, okay, so we need to, I think, add this neighbor to this mark, right? So we can simply put this neighbor over here. Let me run it now. I'm waiting for the output to come. Okay, so that's the window, and I can see, see how beautifully this code is drawing for me all the sprites, all the boxes. So that's what you will get to see as an output when you will run the code on this PyCharm platform. How beautiful it is looking. And the last one is going to be empty. Okay, so we have these 16 boxes over here, and we have 16 numbers, and one box is empty, right? So if I click this box, so 14 will come here. If you want to bring this 9 over here, you have to first click this 9, and then you can click this box, and 9 will come here like this. So that's how you can play this game. See how amazingly I've coded this game, and it's looking extremely beautiful, right? It's a mind game, and you can play and enjoy this game. See, I'm able to change the position of these numbers. So in order to change it, I just have to click the number, then I can click the box, this empty box in which I want to place this number. So it's looking great, it's perfect, it's behaving perfectly fine. And let me now show you again what all things I've defined for creating this game. So I've used these three modules: random, turtle, and free games. Right, then I defined this empty set. In this I used this tiles named variable for this empty set. Then I used this neighbors named function, neighbors named variable, for these inside which I defined these vectors. Okay, then I used this load named function for loading the game. It is going to help us in loading the game, right? And then we have this square named function which is going to help us in creating that square window. Let me just change it to pink. Let's check whether Python will be able to change it to pink or not. No problem. I think it doesn't identify this pink. It hasn't recognized this pink. Let me change it to white. Okay, then we have this write function. This is going to write the numbers for us in the boxes, and that's the font size I've used. If I'll change it to 6, suppose, let's see what is going to happen. So I've changed that to 6. Okay, it's now the numbers are coming of 6 font size. We have very small numbers getting reflected in these boxes, and they are not at all looking good. So I think 60 is a good option that I used earlier. Let me change it to 60. Okay, then we have this tap. Then I defined this tap function, which will help us in finding out the point, the position, the coordinates of the point the user is going to tap on. Right, and then we have this draw function, which is going to help us in drawing the grids on that window which will appear. See the grids which are able to see, the grids which the interpreter is drawing for us here. Why, which function is actually helping us in drawing these grids, which function is helping the interpreter in drawing these grids? It's the draw function which I defined over here at the end. Right, and then we have this update function, which is going to update everything quickly. Setup, hide turtle, load, then draw, on screen click, and then done. Right, so that's the simple 77 or I think nearly 70 lines of code which you can use for creating this amazing tiles game. Right, and now before ending this lecture, I would like to tell you about this course which we guys have come up with. So it's a course based on data structures and algorithm. If you want to learn what is data structures, if you want to learn things related to algorithms, then this course is made for you. Okay, so there are many students who have already availed this course and who are enjoying the classes with an expert. Okay, so if you want to check out this course, you can come on this web page where you'll find everything related to this course. So basically we have designed this course keeping the grade 9 to 12 students in mind, and if you will use this code, so you can get a 10% off on the total course fee. Then if you'll come down, you'll find everything that will be taught to you in the classes we'll provide you in this course. So we'll start with the basic concepts related to data structures and algorithm, and then there will be some live problem solving sessions, and once the basic things will get clear to you, we'll move towards the advanced coding part, advanced things. Right, if you want to check out the syllabus that will be covered in the classes, so you can click the button and it will open for you a new tab in which you will be able to see this PDF file attached. You can come down and check out the different topics that will be taught to you in this course. So we have divided the whole course week wise. There are going to be 4 lectures per week, and it is a 4-week course. So in total we'll provide you with 16 classes. We'll start with the basics of arrays and basics of loops, and then we'll move to some advanced things like linear search, binary search, Euclid algorithm, which will then be followed by a problem solving session. Right, so that's what we are going to do in this week 1. In week 2 we are going to talk about hashing, collision handling, and then things related to bubble sort, selection sort, insertion sort, quick sort, and these are some techniques. Sorting is one of the techniques you can use for structuring your data. It's very much required, and it's in a high demand at present in the market. So if you want to get a good understanding of these things, you can go ahead and take this course from us. Definitely you are going to take away many things from the course, many things from the classes. Your problem solving skills, your thinking skills will definitely enhance, and you are going to learn a lot from each and every lecture that will provide you in this course. And then it will be followed by a problem solving session, as I've told you. In this week 3 we are going to have a discussion on this linked list and some advanced concepts related to stack queue, priority queue, and then we'll have a problem solving session. Okay, and finally in this week 4 we are going to talk about the very advanced feature of data structures and algorithm, which are very much demand in the market. They have in the market, they have some high demand, right? So it's BFS and DFS. You must have heard about these techniques, but if you want to know exactly what they can do, how they can help us in structuring the data, definitely you can avail this course. to know about the same. We are going to talk about some techniques of greedy approach, and we'll talk about dynamic programming also, which will then be followed by a problem solving session. So overall, you will enjoy this course a lot, and definitely you will avail the other courses also. Once you become a part of GFG, you're going to get different kind of benefits, and definitely you will get motivated enough that you will avail the other courses also, which we guys are providing right now to the students. If you are interested in artificial intelligence or machine learning things, we are into that also. Remember this thing that Geeks for Geeks is into every field which exists today, right, in computer science. So if you have any queries related to anything, you can contact us on this toll-free number of ours, and also if you want, you can drop us an email on this official ID of ours. This is it from my side in this lecture. Hope you guys enjoyed this one a lot. Thank you very much for being there with me in this tutorial. Have a great day ahead. Bye bye everyone, and I'll see you in the next lecture where we are going to talk about Pi games. So it is again a very beautiful module like free games, with the help of which we can create amazing games using Python. So don't miss any lecture. We are going to start with Pi game tomorrow. So be there on time, and thank you very much. God bless you all and have a nice day. Bye bye everyone. Take care.